But can I ask you something? If not whistleblowers, who else can stop you in case you push it too far? There must be checks and balances everywhere, right?
No, you're right. You're right. Now, let me raise a technical point for you. A whistleblower has to point out unlawful activity. Even Snowden admits this wasn't unlawful. He claims it was unwise or it was inconsistent with his personal value system. But no one claims it was unlawful. It was consistent with law. It was done under a court order with the knowledge of the Congress. And so it's hard for me to imagine that, that anyone would afford him whistleblower status, at least in the technical legal definition of the term. Now, where do you get debate? You get debate in our representative government. You get debate from a judge who pushes back, saying he's uncomfortable with the outlines of the court order we want him to sign. You get debate in the American Congress, where members, particularly the intelligence oversight committees, get a chance to look at these programs and to pass on their merits as to whether or not they would authorize them or appropriate funds for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been talking for a while. Are we really saying that giving all the details of my private life to a government agency is the new normal? It's the new patriotic norm?
No, not at all. And again, that you're saying that as a reflection as to how badly reported this story has been. The details of your private life are not being shared with the government. In these two programs, what the government gets is a macro database of phone calls, but just fact of call, nothing more. And with regard to the PRISM program, as I already said, it focuses on foreign communications of intelligence value to the United States. That's what the National Security Agency, and I might add, what the FSB is all about.
Mm-hmm. See, the whole thing is that maybe if the security state was a little more transparent, like Obama promised it would be before he was elected president, then maybe the American public and the foreigners will be more comfortable with programs like PRISM.
You bring up a wonderful point. And somebody with my background, coming from the security services, I mean, we're reluctant to say much about anything. We actually think we're more operationally effective the less our adversaries know about what it is we're doing. But we also realize we work in a democracy. And I'm now fond of saying that in the American democracy, the president probably gets to do anything one-off, one time, based upon his presidential authority and a narrow definition that it's simply lawful. But in our system, the president doesn't get to do anything over a long period of time without generalized popular support. And you're right, you don't get generalized popular support unless the American people, and especially their representatives, have some sense of broad knowledge, maybe not detailed, but broad knowledge about what their government is doing on their behalf. And so I now have to admit, even as a security professional, that we may have to make a few things more public, things that actually might make us a little less effective, so that we can make the American population more comfortable about what it is we're doing. Otherwise, the American population, the American democracy, will tell us to stop doing all of what we're doing. And so we're going to have these trade-offs: transparency, popular acceptance, and operational effectiveness.
General Hayden, you brought up your security background, but you also come from a long line of Republicans. Where is the Republican point of view on all of this? I mean, how does the less government idea sit in with all of this?
Well, I think your viewers are seeing a very interesting dynamic here in the United States. Let me first of all challenge the assessment that I'm a Republican. I was selected to be the head of CIA by a Republican president, but I was selected to be head of NSA by a Democratic president, President Clinton. But your question is about the Republican Party, and it's really quite interesting here in the American political system that the extreme right of the Republican Party and the extreme left of the Democrat Party seem to be coming together with regard to common concern about some of the things that the center is doing to keep Americans safe and free. And so you do actually have some Republicans criticizing this program on civil liberties, less government is better government grounds, rather than addressing the program on what are frankly more traditional Republican grounds, on the grounds of national security.
You know, at the end of the day, the fact is that PRISM-gate has damaged Obama's reputation personally, but it has also undermined, you know, the reputation of his office, of the American presidency in the eyes of the world. I mean, we saw how he was in front of Merkel in Germany, and he had to justify himself, and he had to justify PRISM for the whole world. You know, do you think this scandal, these leaks, will actually make him push the security state back, or does he even want to do that? Do you think he can challenge the whole thing?
Yeah. Look, I think there's a bit of theater going on here, and I mean no disrespect to the leading figures in Germany or the United States. All right? Let's all admit very candidly that all nations conduct espionage. All of them do. Now, we're focused on the United States now because we're actually more transparent about our espionage than any other country on earth. That's really what the issue is here. That's why this is a publicly discussable item. But it's not because what America is doing is unique.
But are high-ranking officials not an exception? Because NSA leaks made known foreign officials were bugged more than once, for example, at G20 summit in London. I mean, how does spying over then Russian President Dmitry Medvedev's calls help fight the war on terror?
Well, let me first of all comment that I have no views on any actual operational activities of American intelligence services. And I would also offer you the view that all nations on this planet have legitimate foreign intelligence concerns beyond the war on terror. This is just not about terrorism. It's about foreign intelligence. And I repeat, all nations conduct foreign intelligence.
Just to wrap it up, given what we've discussed, do you foresee a rollback on the surveillance state in general, a cutback on it, or is it going to go ahead with the same pace?
What I foresee is that these two programs, the very light touch on American privacy created by the metadata telephone program and the PRISM program, in my personal judgment, they both go forward. I mean, they already have wide bipartisan support. They will continue. But what we have been talking about here today, and what my countrymen and people around the world have been talking about for the past 2 weeks, that will generate a global discussion about what is the meaning of privacy in an internet era. What are the true rules? What are the legitimate expectations of privacy in a world in which everyone is connected? Look, I had an advisory board at CIA, and I would give them tough problems. And one of the tough problems I gave them was this question of security and transparency. And here's how I framed the question. I said, will the United States be able to conduct espionage in the future inside a broader political culture that every day demanded more transparency and more public accountability from every aspect of national life? And they studied the problem, and they came back to me, and their final answer was, we're not sure.
General Michael Hayden, former NSA and CIA director. It's been very interesting, and I want to thank you for joining us today, and I will see you in the next edition of Sophie & Co.